Hey, everyone, let's dive into the World War II movie Fury and explore some of its tank battle scenes. We'll break down the action, look at the tactics, and see how they match up with real tank warfare from the past. Get ready for a fun and interesting look at history and movies. Let's chat about a scene from the movie Fury with Brad Pitt. I like the movie, but there's a part that seems a bit off. It's the scene where Brad Pitt's tank crew is moving alone in Germany in 1945, which is a bit strange because usually tanks had more tanks or soldiers with them. Then, there's an ambush by a German Tiger tank. In the movie, the Tiger hits the last tank in the column. But in real life, German tank commanders were taught to hit the first tank to stop the whole column. This tactic was actually used a lot by Tiger commanders to take out many vehicles. So, while the ambush itself could happen, the way it's shown in the movie isn't quite how it would have gone down in reality. Now let's talk about a famous World War II moment with tank ace Michael Wittmann. On June 13, 1944, at a place called Villers-Bocage, Wittmann pulled off a smart move. He destroyed around 12 British tanks using a clever tactic. First, he took out the tank at the front of their line, then the one at the back. This trapped the others in the middle. With the British tanks confused and trying to figure out what was happening, Wittmann knocked out a bunch more tanks before he got away safely. This strategy is pretty smart for defending. By hitting the tanks at the front and back, the enemy can't move forward or back up. Then, in all the confusion, you take out as many as you can. Wittmann's move at Villers-Bocage is a classic example of how this tactic works in battle. Moving on to World War II tanks. So, a German tank commander in 1945 would definitely know which tanks to target first. In the movie Fury, Brad Pitt's tank, Fury, had a longer gun than the others. This 76mm gun was way more powerful than the shorter 75mm guns the other tanks had. German commanders knew these longer guns were a bigger threat. They would often try to take out tanks with these big guns first, like Fury and the British Firefly tank. These tanks were more dangerous to them. Because of this, Allied tank crews with these big guns tried to hide them. They would paint part of the barrel or add a fake part to make the gun look shorter. It was their way of tricking the enemy into thinking their tank wasn't as powerful. Alright, let's talk about another part of the Fury tank scene. When the Americans spotted the enemy, they did something smart. They turned their tank so the thickest armor was facing the German tank, and used smoke to make it hard for the enemy to see. That part totally makes sense. But here's the weird part. They tried to get closer to the enemy tank. See, Fury had a powerful 76mm gun, which could damage the German Tiger tank from about 400 yards away. So, they didn't really need to get closer. But in the movie, it's like they all have the weaker 75mm guns and need to close the gap to hit the enemy. That's not quite right, since Fury's gun was strong enough to do the job from further away. Let's talk more about the Fury movie and its tank battle scenes. So, in the movie, all the tanks are firing while moving, which isn't quite right. Usually, tank commanders would stop to fire because it's more accurate. The Sherman tanks had a special thing called a gyroscopic mount that helped keep their guns steady on the move, but the Tiger tank didn't have this. So the Tiger should really stop, then shoot, especially to take out the second and third tanks. Now, about Fury and its strategy. The movie shows Fury getting closer to the Tiger, which seems unnecessary. Fury's powerful 76mm gun could have hit the Tiger from a distance, but instead, they try to go behind the Tiger to destroy it. In real life, the regular Sherman tanks with the 75mm guns did have to get behind a Tiger or Panther to beat them. But Fury's gun was strong enough to do it from the front. Also, there's a part where Fury gets hit by the Tiger but doesn't get much damage. In reality, that hit would have been really bad for Fury. The movie kind of plays into the myth that you need lots of Shermans to beat one Tiger tank. But actually, both Fury and the Tiger had a good chance to beat each other from the start of the fight. So, while the movie has some cool action, it doesn't always match up with how tank battles really happened. There is another part of the Fury tank battle. In the movie, all the tanks are shooting while moving. But in real life, most tank commanders wouldn't do that. The Sherman tanks had special equipment to keep their guns steady while moving, but the Tiger tank didn't. So, The tiger should have stopped, then shot, to be more accurate. In the scene, 2 Sherman tanks are taken out while moving towards the tiger, but Fury, with its powerful gun, could have shot the tiger from a distance. It's a bit confusing why they didn't just take the shot and finish the battle. The movie shows Fury trying to get behind the tiger to destroy it. While it's true that regular Sherman tanks needed to do this, Fury's gun was strong enough to take out the tiger without having to move around it. And there's a moment where Fury bounces a shot off its side from the tiger, which isn't very realistic. In reality, that shot would have caused a lot of damage to Fury. Alright, back to the Fury tank battle. So, the Tiger tank tries to outmaneuver Fury by going in reverse, but suddenly its shooting speed drops. This gives Fury a chance to hit it with 2 shells, and the battle ends. The thing is, the movie kind of follows some myths about World War II tank battles. One myth is that it took 5 Sherman tanks to beat a Tiger or Panther tank. While sometimes true, American tank groups usually had 5 tanks because that was their standard unit, not because they needed so many to win. Another point is that the Sherman tank wasn't always outmatched. When it first came out in 1942, it was pretty good, especially in North Africa and Italy. It only started to struggle in places like France and Germany. But the Americans were upgrading their tanks too, like adding the bigger 76mm gun and developing new tanks like the M26 Pershing to deal with Tigers and Panthers. It's time to wrap up our talk about the movie Fury. So the Americans were always trying to be better than the Germans in tank warfare. Some people think it could have been done differently, but that's another story. Now there's this myth that every German tank was a Tiger, but that's not really true. Sure, Tiger tanks were scary and soldiers were always on the lookout for them, but Germany didn't make as many Tigers and Panthers as we often think. They had a lot more of other tanks like the Panzer IV and Stug, Sturmgeschütz. Running into a Tiger or Panther wasn't as common as some people say. Despite its flaws, I really liked Fury. It's a well-made movie that shows the tough choices in war. It tells us that in war, sometimes things aren't just black and white, and it's often about survival. One last thing. In Rick Atkinson's book, An Army at Dawn, he mentions Germans using green tracer bullets, which you see in the movie. Tracers help show where shots are coming from, but in Fury, they're used a lot, turning some scenes into a flashy light show. While it's based on facts, it sometimes feels a bit too much for a gritty World War II movie. I hope we see more movies like this, even if they stretch the truth a bit. They help us think about history in new ways. Keep watching and learning, and who knows what cool insights you'll find next. That's a wrap on our deep dive into Fury and its depiction of World War II tank battles. Movies like this help us explore history, even if they take some liberties. Remember, history is full of layers and different angles. Keep enjoying movies and exploring the past. Until next time, keep questioning and learning. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us keep bringing you more great content. Thanks for being part of our community.